Thank you for inviting me to this conversation around transformation. To be honest with you, I'm not really interested in further conversation. I'm actually interested in activation. I'm coming to you from Beijing, China, which is a very interesting place in the midst of things that are going on in the world, the trade wars, the siloing of people trying to hold on to the past, yet the future moves on. And we find ourselves in a very interesting time. So when we talk about transformation, let's be clear about what is it that we're talking about transforming. The key thing, in my opinion, is that right now we're living in a reality where we're kicking the can forward in this semblance of an economy which is disconnected from ecology. The debt to GDP ratio today is 3-to-1. That's like basically making $30,000 a year and living a $100,000 lifestyle. Now, if you did that with the bank would shut you down. So in our case, nature is going to shut us down, and the evidence is mounting every single day. So we don't need to talk about the issues because everyone in the room, I'm sure, is quite aware of what the issues are. I want to talk about something very specific. What is emerging and what kind of solutions that we can create in order to address those things. So what I see is there's kind of three major shifts that are happening. The number one is the construct of identity. We've come from a world of tribal identity, and now we're relating to people that are not our neighbors, and our sense of compassion or our sense of reach is transcended our local environment, and we're actually going from tribal to global in the way we identify ourselves to the rest of the world. So that's a very interesting thing to look at. The second thing is the evolution of commerce. We've always looked at commerce in terms of local marketplaces, buying and selling. I get this, you get that, and it's about making the deal. What we're seeing more and more emerge is going from the paradigm of markets to the paradigm of network, meaning you are actually managing your risk and you're managing your rewards across an ecosystems like platform cooperatives and so on. So that's a very interesting shift. And then the third, which is kind of happening as a result, is what is the evolution of civilization and moving from the idea of centralization to decentralization and reorganization based on that decentralization. So what's interesting being in China, in the midst of this thing that's going on right now with the American government and the Chinese government and creating this whole idea of tariffs and separation, which is affecting companies on both shores, and actually creating these silos that are affecting innovation and what we can share as humanity. So, right now we don't have much of a choice. Right now, to talk about incremental innovations, to talk about the same ideas that have gotten us here, the same thinking that has gotten us here, is not going to serve us. We know the kind of historical trajectory, right? Up until the industrial revolution, humans and animals have exerted their impact on the land that was relatively sustainable. Soon as you introduce hydrocarbons into the mix, in other words, you can exponentially create manpower and horsepower and increase productivity and increase capacity. Well, we've experienced what we experience now as a modern civilization. The growth curve is through the roof. Now, while that one hand, that's great, it poses all kinds of new problems, which is, how do I account for externalities? How do I replenish the stuff that I take out of the earth and put it back? There is no accounting mechanism in the way we do the world today that addresses those things. So remember I said, and this is a reality, that we are living in a 3-to-1 debt to GDP ratio. So we have to reverse that reality with a fundamentally different construct. So one of the ways of doing it is really looking at the construct of money itself and how economics and governments work as a result of redesigning the construct of money itself. So what we're doing with this Feel Your Life project, this field project, this whole idea is around creating sovereign systems. And so our first offering this on platform, which is our network platform, addresses these three key things that we just spoke about. The evolution of identity from tribal to global, the evolution of commerce from markets to networks, and the evolution of civilization from centralization to decentralization and then reorganization again. So the way we do that in our construct is, first of all, the evolution of identity is all around basically creating a decentralized sovereign digital identity that is your profile, that is your identity card, that is your accountability as an individual member inside the network. Now, the difference between the kind of identities that we understand today, technically, and the kind of identities that we are proposing is this. So today, when you have a centralized identity like your social security number or your driver's license, government issued identification, identity is